What's up, Disrupt Nation? So, we have a very, very special guest for you guys today. He is a serial entrepreneur helping impact driven entrepreneurs scale ethically through authentic personal branding and storytelling. The one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Gusten. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm honored to be here, man.
Definitely. So, can you tell us your story and what brought you to your career path? Like, when did you make the decision that you wanted to become an entrepreneur?
Sure. So it all started about 2 years ago when I was 21 years old. And right now I'm 23 years old. And I had tried 15 different jobs by the age of 21. I think I think people started looking at me like I'm a little bit crazy,
Wow.
and people I think people misunderstood me for not being grateful for what I had. But in reality, I was just looking for more. I was looking to become a person I knew I could be. And so it was all about this pursuit of, yeah, passion, but purpose and potential that I believed that I had. And even if I didn't know what that was, I knew that there was more out there, and so I had to chase that. And I grew up in a community where if you want more, if you want to be successful, right? Like that's like you get a job and you climb the ladder. So that's what I did. I became a manager at 17. I was managing people that were 20, 21, and they hated me because I was younger than them. I was supposed to be there. You know what I mean? So I was like successful in like society's eyes in that term, but I didn't feel it. Like I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel like I was becoming the person I wanted, and so that's when I started to look into other options. And like so many other times, we look at the society and we go like, what's that thing that everybody's doing that I can go and do? And so I went to business university. I applied, and it was like, I'm not trying to like, it was pretty easy. Like I got in, and one morning I came to school, to the class, and I was like, I asked the teacher, where's everybody? And she goes, well, there was a party yesterday night, and people are home, hangover. And I was like, okay. And it happened once, and it happened twice, and the third and fourth and fifth time, I started thinking like, wait a minute, I am here because I'm chasing something. I'm chasing purpose, fulfillment, becoming this entrepreneur that is going to make a difference in the world. And all I saw was people partying their lives away. And I didn't feel home at all. And I thought there has to be something more out there. And so um, I dropped out because I realized like one day I was sitting and I realized that the teacher that is teaching me about business and entrepreneurship doesn't have a business. Like,
Yeah, they say the people who can do, and the ones that can't do, they teach. Right.
yeah.
So it's
Unless you
definitely.
become successful at something and you teach others to do the same thing, which you already have results in.
No, definitely. Well, and that's another thing. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who are thinking about skipping college or dropping out of college or maybe taking a year off, right? And the one
Yeah.
thing that I tell them is that college will always take your money. It's not people will act, like, oh, I got in. Let me make sure that I stay in. It's like, no, once you're in, you're in. You can take a year off. You can take 3 years off. A friend of mine, he's took in 3 years off from Princeton, and he probably won't go back. But if he ever wants to go back, like the college will always take your money.
Yeah. No, 100%. And even in Finland, like it's so cheap. Like they even pay you like 400, 500 a month as a support from like the government
Wow.
to study. Like they literally put you in the prison and they pay you to be there. I'm like, what? They don't want you to start your own thing. But
Yeah, no,
anyways,
absolutely not. And they don't see. I was talking about this on another podcast. Like our education was designed to train factory workers, right?
yeah,
And with AI and automation, a lot of those jobs are going to get phased out. People have to become entrepreneurs if they
100%,
if they want to survive.
100%. Yeah.
So tell us more. So you drop out of college, and then you start 15 business. What were these 15 businesses?
No, I had 15 different jobs before I went to university, and I thought, okay, so I can't find out
Oh
a job.
wow.
I need to study more, and so I dropped out, and I was looking at the marketplace. Like I didn't feel home in school, but I could see the marketplace. I could understand where the market was going, and so I saw that everybody's moving towards social media, and I realized like these business owners they're still using traditional marketing, and I could not understand that, and I didn't see at the time, I didn't see my unfair advantage of growing up with social media, growing up with Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and everything. Like these business owners were still using traditional like TV advertising, radio, newspaper, brochures, like so it was natural for me to be like, everybody's on social media, why not you? And I realized like a couple of things. First of all, they didn't have the time. They didn't know how to market themselves on social media, and like it was a huge market for me, and so that's what I went after.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit about like what was your struggles? What were some of the mistakes that you made early on, and what lessons did you learn from that?
Yeah, man. So a big one was definitely to quit my job before I had any income from my business. Like, don't do that unless you're crazy like me, because I put my wife in a very, very hard situation. We got married when I was 20, so I still had my job, and things were okay. And then I went study, and I was only a year in university, and then I dropped out of that. And I thought, hey, I see a huge opportunity here. I understand social media. Let's start a business. I'm gonna be my own boss, because then it wasn't always that I hated my jobs, but it was like I said, I didn't feel the freedom. I didn't feel like I was becoming the person I wanted and fulfilling my potential. And so by starting my own business, I thought maybe that's where I feel home. And immediately I was like, this is my home, it's who I am. But one of the things that I learned was starting a business and making money is two separate things. Like you have to get clients, you have to sell a product in order to survive. And so um, I would spend hours, like my wife went to her job, she'd be there from 9 to 5. I would spend all that time on YouTube. I would spend all the time reading books. I was big into personal development, because one thing I understood early on was, if I become super good at one thing, and I'll get more into personal branding later, but what I realized was I was building my personal brand by becoming good at one thing, because I became the go-to social media guy. And even some people locally called me the legend when I was I only had like 6 months into the business, but they're like the social media legend. That was kind of cool. But anyways, what I did was I would hustle and work really hard, but I was struggling to get clients. And so, yeah, one thing I forgot to mention was, when I had the big dream, I had the big vision. One day, one of my friends called, and he was like, yo, Gusten, like, let's meet up. It's been a while. Like, let's have a coffee and catch up. And I was like, sure. And he brings along his friend. And they introduced me to a new opportunity, right? Not sure if you ever heard of a new opportunity. You're gonna have the best product ever, the best thing since sliced bread.
Sounds like
And,
a cult, man.
yeah, and yeah, so they introduced me to a network marketing business, and I didn't know at the time. What I did understand was it was a good product, and I could see social media. So I took those two things and I tried to pair them together. But here's the thing: even though it was like, yeah, become your own boss. That's what they said. But immediately they gave me this list of writing down 100 people I knew, and creating this list. And I was like, great. I'll start my own website, my blog, my social media. I'll build a community. So I understood the importance of like personal branding, adding value, giving more than you're taking. Understood human psychology. That's what it is. And they said, no, like, that's not what you do. That's not what we do here. We call people. You call these 100 people and you get them to a meeting, to a coffee. And I'm like, sure. Well, like, okay, what am I telling them? Like, they said, like, no, you're not telling them anything. Like, you're just getting them to the meeting. And I'm like, okay, but what if they ask? No, like you're not telling. And it was all sketchy, and it wasn't what I thought business was. So I understood business before ever going into it. But
Definitely.
so
No, it definitely sounds like a cult, man.
yeah. So what was the
Trust me, I
question?
was in a cult one time, and they sat me in a room, and they said write down 100 friends, and then all of a sudden my friends started disappearing. So you got to be careful with that stuff.
Really? Oh wow.
No, but in all seriousness, yeah, there's definitely, it's not all bad. I think there's a lot of companies that they began in an era of marketing, maybe in the 80s and the 70s, when that was the way you marketed. I mean, there was no internet, and you had to use the phone, right?
Yeah.
Like the Million Man March and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, all these guys, that's how they did organize. They organized these huge movements all through the phone, through, a pigeon with a note on it.
Yeah.
And a letter and a postcard, right? But in the age of social media, not only is that stuff maybe not efficient or a little outdated, it actually makes you come across almost like a scam, or it makes you come across a little weird.
Because they think about themselves, what they've done, what's been working for them, like what they know, what they have the knowledge about, and what they have the results from. They have the analytics, like they have done that for a while, and they know that, like, they're comfortable with it. And yeah, like their sales can be like okay, but then the market comes and they say this is not what we want, and they might not tell you, but you can read it that people are consuming more social media. It's all mobile. Like, you'd be shocked how many websites wasn't optimized for mobile when I got started.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if anything, you should have wrote down 100 email addresses, right? Forget the phone numbers.
Exactly.
You could have put them in a Facebook retargeting campaign, and you could have maybe closed even more of them. So what were you selling? What was this product?
It was a health product. It was a health product.
Cool.
Because I was into soccer and I wanted to be fit, and all that. This friend thought I'd be a good fit, and I had I had some network, and they thought, hey, if we can leverage his network, then we can make money out of that. And so that right there, going with that mindset, looking at, hey, write down 100 people, and then then pick like the 10 people of those that have the biggest networks that you can sign up as like downlines. The whole thing wasn't what I wanted, and so what I did was, instead I took that knowledge. Obviously, I spent a lot of money on coaching and personal development again, and so it was a good, like, it led me to something better. And I think at the time when I quit that, I felt like a failure, because I had this dream. When I started it, that was the first moment when people, like my friends and family, would start telling me that, you're crazy, you dropped out of university, that was the best thing you'd ever had. You did this, and
You
that.
dropped out of university. You joined the cult.
Yeah.
You're calling all
like
this. Yeah, no, I could only imagine.
They were like, this is just going south, man.
Well, well, I guess, I have a lot of friends in the entrepreneur space that did start out in network marketing, and I think the good part about it is the community and the inspiration and maybe the dream that they're selling, and maybe the path to get there may not be yours, right? You may have a different path to getting there. But I think the biggest thing then, when you venture out on your own and it's really 100% your own venture, is now you have to be the cheerleader. When you're in a network marketing thing, you go to the meetings and they have coffee and they have a bunch of people screaming and clapping.
I'll tell you, my biggest takeaway was this: building an attractive character. In other words, your personal brand. Because think of a network marketing business. All of them, they have an attractive character. They have a leader that has gone through a journey, and they have this amazing story of what they've been through, the struggle, and they go from that, and they transition into this amazing character, and now they inspire others to do the same. So like, it's not a bad bad cult. It's just that it's not for everybody. It's not. It wasn't for me, the whole thing. But
all right, so super cool. So you leave the cult, and then where do you go next?
I took the business knowledge, and I took social media, and I did something with it that I was allowed to do. Instead of doing it for the health product, I decided to help local businesses. In fact, what I did was, and I'm going to be completely transparent, I found someone that were selling a similar product. I wanted to test, but I also wanted to prove people that what I saw inside of me with social media was the right thing. And so booked a meeting, talked to the guy, and decided to help him out marketing his product on social media. And I remember the first sale we got with Facebook ads. I was like, I knew it, guys. Like, I knew this was possible with social media. And these guys would tell me, like, no, you need to sit there and convince people because it's a lot of information. Like, you need to be there and explain everything. And I could understand objections to why they're not buying, but I understood also that social media is not the product, it's just the distribution channel. So like, whatever limiting belief my audience has, I can crush that, and I can build up a new belief system by leveraging social media. When I did that, we started seeing results. And funny thing is, like, they called me back from the network marketing business, and they wanted me to consult them on social media, which is funny because now they before I left, I explained to them how they should build a community, Facebook groups, build a community around your purpose, which is well-being. And then the people who are interested will be like, you'll attract those people to you, and people will show when they're interested.
Yeah, I mean, they'll tell 100 of their friends even without them getting paid, right? When people are really ambassadors of your brand. Yeah, they don't.
I believe, how most people, they start with what they sell, then they go how they sell it, and then they go why they sell it. Always, like Simon Sinek says, start with why, and which is why I believe Apple is so successful. Like, they challenge the status quo. Like, they dare to dream big. Like, they think differently. What do? Like that, you don't hear that in their why. And so I think when you switch that and you build around your why, then you go into your how you do it, and people don't even know what you're selling yet, but they're like, what do you sell? Let me buy something.
Yeah, no, definitely. And being a purpose-driven entrepreneur, I think, is really what can set you apart, especially in a global economy. I mean, it used to be, okay, there was one store on the street and that was the only option. Now we're in a global economy. People can go and buy direct from China if they wanted to. You have Walmart, you have Amazon.com, eBay, you have basically, it's a global level that you're competing with. So to set yourself apart, you really have to be offering something more than just a product.
100%, 100%.
So you start by selling someone else's product, and then when do you get to the point where you're like, okay, now I have the confidence, and I did the proof of concept, and we used Facebook to start selling stuff, and when do you venture out to sell your own products?
Sure. So that's the interesting thing. I at the point where I realized, like, I had to do this myself. Like I said, a lot of friends and family wouldn't support me. They would call me and tell me to get a job and quit this joke I was doing, this clown I was playing. I started sharing that, and I started sharing my knowledge, and I started building my own brand as I was teaching businesses to build theirs. And so what happened was, people started calling me, people started messaging me. I haven't spent any dollars on advertising myself. I haven't cold called once. I haven't cold emailed once, from 0 to 100,000 online. And I think that's pretty interesting when everybody is like against you and you just have this passion that you follow. And so you do it over and over, you being consistent without in the beginning, without getting paid. And you go from like being this kid that everybody's like, you feel like everybody's against you, you feel like an outsider, and people started like just flooding to you. And right now, for example, is at the point where I do a lot of coaching, I do a lot of consulting, because I can't handle the done for you work that I used to have. And so to answer your question, I went from selling other people's products to starting helping people whatever they needed. And at the point, I would accept any student, which is a lesson I learned not to, but and any client. I just solve their problems. And that's when I realized business and entrepreneurship is about becoming good at one thing, finding a problem, providing a solution. That's cash right there.
Very cool. So tell us more about your new venture, your new website, entrepreneurs.com, and how you came up with the concept.
Yeah, man. So like I said, I grew my agency then to first like 10K a month and beyond. And what I realized was I work a lot. I love working. Don't get me wrong. I spend anything between 12 to 19 hours per day in the office sometimes. And what I realized was there's a difference between working on tasks and working with people. And I did the Tony Robbins disc test and personality test and everything with fulfillment and purpose. And I realized like I love helping. I always knew I loved helping people, but I wanted my entrepreneurship journey to become a movement and a community of people who could feel like home. And so I decided to, I've always wanted to create a clothing brand, but I feel like just a t-shirt doesn't make it. Like just a t-shirt company, like there's so many of them. And that itself wouldn't bring me any fulfillment. But I decided to create a community of entrepreneurs, and then the clothing line behind that would be the identity that we wear, if that makes sense.
Very cool. So the clothing line is just part of the movement, right? And I guess you wanted to move from helping people from like a task perspective to actually inspiring people to build their own businesses, right?
Yeah, yeah, because I could see the impact that it had on my not only me but on my family's lives. I remember one day my wife woke up in the middle of the night, and she didn't tell me this before like after, and she would wake up and have her heart would beat like double, and that was because she was so stressed out. She had to, like I said, I didn't have a job at the point, and I was struggling getting clients, and she had to pay my rent, she had to pay my bills, my clothes, my food, everything. Like the 400 a month that I got, at the point, that all went into personal development, because I knew I had to invest in myself to get to the next level. And so putting my wife at risk, one time we couldn't afford the rent, and we were starting to getting food, and so we almost ended up homeless, to the point where she said, like, Gusten, this is it, like, you're gonna have to get a job, and so going from that point, fast forward to today, all I can think of, if I can change one person's life. And I remember the first message that I got that said, thank you, Gusten, you've changed my life, because I started helping entrepreneurs, and that was the coolest feeling ever. That was the moment I knew, like, it doesn't matter, like, I don't care about money anymore. Obviously I need what I need for my business, but for my family, but it's all about the impact I can make in other people's lives. And that's where entrepreneurs.com was born. It was the community. So it's the clothing is one part of it, yes. Then we have a free academy, and we have free trainings and a Facebook group with 1,000 entrepreneurs. And so that's pretty cool to have that, and provide with free trainings to anyone who has the same desire that I had.
Wow, that's awesome. So it's almost like teach a man to fish versus giving him a fish, right? You give him a fish, you can eat
100%.
for a day.
I've had people, no, 100%. I've had people reach out and be like, I need a little bit of money, Gusten. Like, can you borrow me? Can you give me some money or do this? That? And I've helped out. Like, I love helping, but a lot of times I'll just give them trainings that I have, and I'll let them do the work because I know, like, I know if I teach them how to fish, they can not only fish for themselves, but they can teach others as well. And the global impact that I want to have needs me to teach people so that they can teach others and they can teach others, and that's the ripple effect that is going to generate the biggest influence that possible.
Very cool. I mean, it's actually similar. You're almost like the European version of Disrupt, what we're doing in Puerto Rico, where, there's an economy that is 500 years old and relies on the service industry. And, Disrupt, we came down here to create a digital economy and teach entrepreneurship and tech and marketing and, really stimulate that. So I would love to collaborate and take a look at your curriculum and see if there's ways to even bring it into Latin America, maybe get it transcribed and things of that nature. So tell me, like, some of the success stories. I know you kind of touched on it briefly, like you hear the number 1,000 people and like where are these people located? What countries are they from, and what types of impacts have you seen inside the community so far?
You mean from the Facebook group of 1,000 entrepreneurs?
Yes.
Okay, so cool thing that I like 4 years ago I didn't speak English at all. Like 4 years ago, we speak Finnish and Swedish. It's what we speak in Finland.
Wow.
And I knew, like, because I had this desire and this dream to make a global impact. And at the time, it just sounded like a silly dream, but I knew English was what I had to learn. And so that's what I did. And I changed my profiles and everything, started communicating in English. And it was bad at the time. It was really bad. Don't go back and watch my profiles. But as I did that and I shared my story again, like, honestly, everything changes when you share your story. But when you're being authentic and you share not only your ups, but your ups and downs, that's when you attract your dream clients and your target audience that you can call friends and not just client. So that's what I did. People started joining from, all over the world, like first from Sweden, Norway. We have people from, anything, US, Australia, Canada, UK, European countries like Spain, Portugal. From Africa, we have Nigeria, we have Latin American country, like we have all over the world.
That's awesome. So you taught yourself English by teaching, essentially, right? Because you wanted to share your knowledge, and the only way to do that was to do it in a different language. That's awesome. You're really the European version of me, because my Spanish is not that good, and I have been practicing my face off, and I actually just moved to Puerto Rico full time. And I'm going to do the same thing, but in reverse. I'm going to go from English to Spanish. So super, super cool. We have to link up and fly you down to Puerto Rico so you can have a drink with me. And
would love to, man.
Very, very cool, man. So, like, I love that you're teaching, and you're not only you're like teaching yourself by teaching others, which I think is a huge inspiration. And it actually goes to something that I talk about like making decisions, right? Like, you didn't have it figured out, and you were like, you know what, I'm going to teach people in a different language that I don't even speak, and in the process I'll learn how to speak English, right? So that's super, super cool, man. I'm super happy, and I think it's prolific that we're doing this podcast at this exact time. So if people what, like, message do you have for all the other aspiring entrepreneurs that look up to you and that are first getting started?
Honestly, like, ask yourself this, like, what would I do if someone were to lock me in an office or a building or wherever, like, you have a week and you have to pick one thing that you're going to do for a week. For some people that's going to be gaming, for some people that's going to be studying marketing, like a geek that I am. But like, you have to ask yourself, like, what is that one thing that you're so passionate about that you could do it for free? Because that's when you know that, you can look at the things that, okay, so I have these three things that I'm passionate about. For an example, this is something I call the opportunity matrix. You look at the things that you really love doing, and then you look at the things that you're actually good at. And then you pair those together. Now you go to the marketplace, because you have to look at the marketplace and see what they want, like what they want to buy. And so like I said, find a problem and come up with a solution. Sometimes when I started making, I help them with social media and websites and things of that nature. I didn't know everything. Like I'm self-made in that sense. Like I went and studied that thing. I took a course on it because I knew like that would bring a massive return on investment. And so I think a couple of things is follow your passion. Don't be too concerned about money at the beginning. Third thing is, like, you're gonna have a lot of people questioning you, and it's not because they hate you. Like, most of the times it's going to be friends or family because they love you, and like it sucks for them when you're struggling, and they think like they think they're doing the right thing by telling you what to do, when in fact all you want to do is mind your own business and tell them to do the same. Like, you just want to do your thing. And I think when you do that, you focus on serving others. I think that everything will turn out for the good.
Definitely. You were speaking earlier about, like, I love to work and, working, 90 hours a day. How can entrepreneurs like avoid burnout? Because I feel like burnout and depression is something that almost happens naturally in young entrepreneurs.
Great question. Great question. I've actually been burned out twice, and so this is something that it's actually a great question. And I was watching Sam Ovens. I'm not sure if you're familiar. I guess
Yeah,
you're familiar with
definitely.
Yeah, and he said he's tried everything. He's tried working every day of the week. He's tried not sleeping at all, doing all-nighters, and he's tried everything. He said the moment everything changed was when he got 8 hours of sleep, and he worked 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. And so he works from like 9 to 9, and so he gets his gym in, and so what I mean is, like, you focus on your entire life, not just one thing. You try to get in workout, you try to eat healthy, and you get enough sleep. Like, like, it's hard because you're so passionate about it. Like, it's hard going to sleep, and especially if you're like me, your brain goes into full gear, especially at nighttime, and so it's hard. But as long as you're aware, I think self-awareness is a huge deal. When you listen to your body and you go like, okay, so for example, if you're losing your memory, or if you're starting to, like, you gotta listen to your body, and those three things, especially like sleep, food, and exercise, I think are crucial for not getting burned out.
So, last question. What does disrupt mean to you?
Good question, man. So disrupt for me is honestly not giving a crap what other people think, and just breaking any rules. Don't break the laws, but just breaking all the rules that society and the community that you live in, whatever, like, people are telling you to do or how to live, is because their own belief systems and the stories they are either telling themselves or they have been told. So a good example is, if you're living a life because of how parents or society wants you to live, is because they have been told how to live their lives. And I think disrupt is for me when I go out and I do my own thing, and I don't try to follow something. I don't try to be someone I'm not. I do my own thing. I create my own path, and I build my own future.
Definitely, man. I love that. Yeah, I think we have a lot of inherited mindsets, right? Like you were
Yeah,
talking about, like people's parents, right?
yeah,
Like even things that we say, right? Like don't run with scissors. Like,
yeah.
like where did that come from? People have been saying that forever, and they have no idea where it comes from, and they
Monkey
just
see,
keep
monkey
repeating the
do.
same things. Very cool, man. Well, yeah, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me,
If
man. Had a ton of fun.
people, yeah, no, absolutely. We got to get you down to Puerto Rico.
For sure, man.
Um, if people want to connect with you on social media and online, where's the best places to do that?
Yeah, so definitely Instagram, Instagram.com slash forward slash it's Gusten. So ITS Gusten. And then same thing on Facebook, facebook.com forward slash it's Gusten. And then the entrepreneur's website is entreprnrs.com, is the entrepreneur lifestyle brand website. And we're always adding new trainings. We're building out a community of entrepreneurs who wants to live bigger, even if they feel like an outsider. They have a dream, they're not afraid to work hard. And so that's what we're all about. That's where people can find us and then join the movement.
Gusten, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for being such a contribution and really like a teacher and an educator and sharing your knowledge and sharing your perspectives and yeah, and the swag is really dope too. I'm actually checking it out as we speak. You have like the influencer shirt and the impact shirt. I gotta order a couple of these myself.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man.
Just wait till you see the ones we're adding now. They're sick and they're a little bit controversial of like think different and things of that nature. But thanks, Anthony. It was a pleasure. It was really good to come on here, man.
Definitely, man. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks again.
Talk soon, bro. Bye.
Bye.